Hey guys, Tarke here, and I wanted to go over the upcoming changes to the current Harbinger, or as I like to say, Harbinger League. Have my phone buzz annoyingly during my intro, and talk about Bay Class tomorrow with Lifting as a special guest, among what I've been up to so far in the league. But first off, let's talk about the new Harbinger changes. Harbinger abilities. Many of the skills used by the Harbingers only provide a threat towards characters who let the Harbingers' minions get closer, rewarding characters that can lock them down and destroy them from range. To improve the situation, we're planning to introduce new abilities for the Harbingers that both deal damage aimed directly at players and empower the Harbingers' minions caught in the effect. Harbingers can also create new obelisks when they summon their minions, providing defensive effects to their minions and control and damage effects towards players. Destroy the obelisks to break their influence. So basically we're getting like special totem things, or obelisks as I like to call them, and they just provide a little bit more interest to the fight, because currently what was sort of happening is the Harbinger would pop up, he'd summon a pack, you sweep the pack once with whatever your ability is, wait around awkwardly for a bit, wait for the next summon to come up, and since you get that little pre-warning on the next bunch of ads coming up, you just get ready, tap it, that's that. So hopefully this makes that a little bit more interesting. Rewards. We're going to adjust the chance for various Harbinger currency shards to be dropped. You'll see fewer transmutation shards, more Harbinger shards, more engineer shards, and a larger overall number of shards dropped by each Harbinger. We're also going to increase the chance for Harbingers to appear in maps, and they'll often be more powerful and capable of summoning more minions. So this is really good, because while I think I was one of the few people who kind of enjoyed the league, a lot of people have been complaining that it just felt like a really watered down Perendus kind of thing. Like it felt like Perendus but without Kadiro. And I think that's probably one of the best comparisons we've had. People who say it's like Breach, it's nothing like Breach. I think the Perendus analogy is quite good. It's just like you occasionally get these mobs, they can be kind of interesting, and then the reward is kind of like a bit meh. It felt like it was lacking something, so hopefully, you know, having more of the new orbs, which are all very powerful and very interesting, having just generally more drops, and having a better spawn rate in maps, which I've been told has been pretty lackluster, then I feel like, you know, it's just a good thing all around. Also, speaking of maps, the Beachhead map. We're going to modify the Harbinger's Orb to be more likely to create the unique Beachhead map. This should make it more reasonable to engage with endgame content and make the special Harbinger unique items more obtainable, as well as the League challenges. On a related note, we'll also introduce the number of Beachhead maps you need to complete for the complete endgame grinds, challenge from 100 to 50. We're hoping to get these changes in alongside the release of the new Harbinger supporter packs coming shortly. So this last bit is actually really quite crucial in my opinion. So when they released 3.0, or leading up to release of 3.0, they were saying we've got these 24 really interesting new uniques coming out. And all of the Harbinger uniques are genuinely really interesting, look really cool. All of the actual just uniques which got released with 3.0 are pretty boring, nearly all poison based. There's like one or two interesting ones. I would like the Blight Gloves, for example. But other than that, there's nothing really that fancy. So with how rare the unique Harbinger items were, it was very disheartening to be like, oh, these items look really cool and look really fun to play with, but they're going to be ridiculously expensive, they're going to be so rare with the way that you need to collect all the fragments of the item to then combine it. It just felt incredibly restrictive. So hopefully with just an overall increase of orbs dropping, and use the Harbinger Orb to make the map, so with more orbs that will equal more maps, and then with the maps being spawning more often, right? So like they've gotten more orbs, and then the chance to make the map is even higher. Hopefully, in conjunction with that, we actually get a somewhat accessible, a somewhat accessible amount of, you know, interesting new uniques to play with, which is amazing for everyone. And it also means for the people playing in SSF, there's actually a small chance they might get to try out some of these cool new items. Right. So, with these changes in mind, how have I been feeling about the current league? Now, just to preface all of this, I've been a lot less active in the league than I'd like to be. I am currently on my third build. I started out on a Scorching Ray Trickster, breezed through everything, and then just face-palmed hard on Act 10 Katava, dying to the Burning Ground at the final phase. I just didn't notice the Burning Ground was there. Tried to TP out too late and just collapsed. I then made a charged dash character. Charged dash felt really good, and then it felt really, really bad. Both charge dash and storm burst in this kind of awkward thing where like they're visually really cool skills. They feel great in the lower content, but the second you start actually like going against mobs or your gear drops off, you realize just how kind of like janky the skills feel. So with charge dash when you one shot everything feels cool, but it even when it was one shotting everything, it kind of just felt like a more clunky flicker strike with a overall not as safe of a play style, kind of awkward-ish mechanics with the way that you want to be fully charging, but at the same time you don't want to be fully charging. Basically, there are damage bonuses and multipliers based on how long you channel the skill, but in many ways you don't actually want to full channel, you're better off doing half channels. It's a really awkward kind of skill. The AoE isn't quite there on it, and I ended up abandoning that character because I just felt like it just wasn't doing it for me. And then I went into a Blight character. Blight felt really good, and one of the new threshold jewels is if you affect an enemy with Blight, they take 25% more chaos damage. Now this is really important because it's they take, so that's 25% more multiplier. You can have 2 of these jewels, and they take generic increased chaos damage, meaning any chaos build can incorporate these Blight jewels into them. So for example, if you were playing a caustic arrow character, you could use 2 of these jewels and use a Blight single target. So it means that for single target, you hit them with your caustic arrow, charge up the Blight will scale with all your chaos damage, and then your caustic arrow and the Blight will both have the increased more damage on there from the threshold jewel. Really cool. I managed to face tank that character into the Grothcool fight. That is the bear located in Act 7. Fun fact about that bear is it's a grey bear in a grey cave with grey projectiles, grey. There's a few blacks in there, but mostly just lots of grey. I'd done that fight like 15 times on beta, and I always just sort of face tanked it and ignored the projectiles. And apparently this time round, I just got like tapped. So yeah. When it does the war cry ability, run in circles because there are projectiles that you probably haven't even noticed, and if they hit you, they really hurt. I think maybe when I was just face tanking it on beta, maybe there was like damage tuning was different, or maybe I just had more DPS. I don't know if that will kill that character. And I'm currently re-leveling my first character, the Scorching Ray. Now, I've also been fairly AFK IRL. I've probably only played maybe 3 or 4 days, and the league's been out for a full week now. However, my friend Kane, the guy I normally map with, has been like pushing top 10 hardcore, so we're all very proud of him. And it seems like when your mapping partner is AFK doing IRL stuff, you get top 10 in hardcore. So, fun times. Overall, though, I've been very pleased with Acts 9 and 10. I really liked the aesthetics of Act 9. Act 9 is particularly cool with all the little dinosaurs and stuff. I feel like the final Kitava fight in Act 10 is kind of an awkward one. It does feel slightly overtuned. As something of an understatement. I don't necessarily want to see nerfs to it, but I think the main issue is the way that it's kind of a cock block for maps. You have to kill this final boss, but this final boss is sketchy as, and is very, very punishing. More so than pre-nerf Malachi, in my opinion, just because I felt like the Malachi fight was very well telegraphed. Even the first few times where it is just like a massive clusterfuck, everything was quite clear. Whereas the Kitava fight, while it's mostly the mechanics of Act 5, there are just a few extra things in there which are just impossibly overwhelming for the first time you do the fight. For example, the way that both Innocence and Sin do their insane over-the-top visuals during the fight. The first time you see, like, whoa, is that... Okay, no, that's friendly. Okay, cool. The burning stuff on the floor, which is just like, oh, by the way, just heads up, this is here. Most people just TP out of this. And there's just, like, a few awkward things in there which I feel like visually could be cleaned up a little bit. And, yeah, it's just mildly interesting, but other than that, I'm actually pretty happy with it, and I've also been fairly happy with the new league, especially coming out of Legacy. I was one of the guys who really did not like the micromanagement of Legacy. To have a purely organic, just naturally encountering league mechanic, which while it did feel not quite that rewarding, with these changes, the fact that GGG is listening and making changes this early into the league is really promising. That was one of the main issues we've had with past leagues. They have a lot of potential. They just need that little bit of tuning. We don't see it. So the fact that GG is putting the effort in, even with the massive workload they've had with 3.0, and making these early changes is really, really exciting. And I'm looking forward to the new supporter packs coming out, which I can't afford to then spend more money on the boxes that I can't afford either. By the way, if I could get the Chaos Cloak, Chris, I would really appreciate that. Anyway, I'm Tarke. Reminder, Bay Class tomorrow with Lifting as a special guest. Hopefully we'll have the full roster of Ziggy, Cute Dog, Rise. Rise, for some reason, is still alive, which is slightly awkward because he is racing and he's still alive on his first character, meaning he's doing rather well. So if we could all cross our fingers and hopefully he dies before Saturday, that way he won't have any commitment issues. However, if he is somehow still alive by the next Bay Class, he might need to drop out just so he can commit to the racer lifestyle. But yes, see you guys tomorrow. There will be a timer in the description, and also, as always, if you just go onto my Twitch channel, type !Bayclast, a time will be up there too. But 2 PM GMT on Saturday. I'm Tarke. Have a good day. Bye-bye.